Hello, friends. My name is Adolfo Castañeda. I'm the Director of Hispanic Education for Human Life International, and this is the first of 4 videos on the issue of Catholic teaching on chastity education. We begin with the question: are teens willing to listen to their parents about chastity? Well, it's going to be difficult, but with God's help, it is possible. Our world is saturated and infatuated with sex. 40% of high school students in the United States said that they have had sex. I think it's similar in Europe. Are parents teaching their children Catholic doctrine about sexuality? This is a question that parents must ask themselves because it's very important. The most common reason some teens give for not having sex is religion and morals. And this conclusion came from a pro-abortion Guttmacher 2006-2010 survey. So this is a pro-abortion institute, the Alan Guttmacher Institute, and they admitted this. So this means that whatever their parents of these teens taught them stuck with them. So parents, get encouraged. You can make a difference in your teen's life. Secondly, are parents aware of the sex so-called education their children receive at school? Well, the majority of parents do not know if their kids are receiving sex education at school. Parents who don't inform themselves are allowing their children to be taught other so-called values, which are really anti-values, anti-Christian values that are going to harm their children. Parents ought to know the harmful sex education their children are brainwashed with at schools, at least in public schools. Sex educators tell their students they can have sex and not get pregnant if they use contraceptives or even get an abortion. But this message is misleading and dangerous. Despite all the condoms that people use, despite all the contraceptives, sexually transmitted diseases, STDs, are rampant, and so are pregnancies out of wedlock and abortions on teens and young people. But the worst thing that can happen is the loss of the soul. Thirdly, what can parents do about sex education in the schools? Sex educators like Planned Parenthood, abortion giant in the United States and also internationally in the whole world, say that parents are ignorant and religious fanatics. This is an insult to you parents, and it's a disrespect to the fourth commandment of God, who tells everybody to honor parents. Parents must realize that sex education, so-called sex education, has become transversal. This means that it's not limited to just one class, but is somehow present across the curriculum. And also it transcends the schools. It's also present in so-called health clinics, where many times children or teens or young adults or young people receive behind the backs of their parents contraceptives or even referrals to abortion. The only defense is for parents to have a constant and fruitful communication with their children. Parents should not be apologetic about guiding and monitoring their children. They are their parents. They're not your buddies. Of course, this conversation ought to be in an atmosphere of calmness, not yelling or be scolding them for nothing, but we're talking to them in a serene manner, but with authority, gaining the confidence of the children. Also, parents should band together and form associations to defend their children against sex education in the schools, and also to make their rights as parents prevail. But if the situation is really bad, parents must take the children out of those schools, and if possible, homeschool them or look for a private school that respects parents and morality. Fourthly, what does the church teach on parents as educators of their children? Parents are the principal and primary educators of their own children. This truth is taught by God in the scriptures. In the Bible, for example, in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 and following, we have Moses enunciating the first commandment: you shall love your God, your Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being. And immediately after that, he says, teach these commandments to your children. So we see that the role of parents as teachers, their duty and right to teach their children, comes from God directly and is linked to the very first commandment. It is also taught by the natural law, the universal moral law, which is binding on everybody, be them believers or not. And it's also taught through the Catholic Church. There are two important documents of the Church that I would like to point out to you parents. First, there is the St. John Paul exhortation Familiaris Consortio of the Christian Family, 1981. And then, more importantly even, is the Pontifical Council for the Families document, The Truth and Meaning of Human Sexuality of 1995, which is directly addressed to parents and gives practical advice, besides the doctrinal foundation, to how to teach their children about chastity according to the age and particular development of the child. Very important document that I highly recommend. Also, the Human Life International website and its online bookstore offer excellent educational materials for all. Fifthly, what is required of parents in chastity education? Chastity is the virtue that enables us, in other words, a good habit, that enables us to have control over sexuality so that it is placed at the service of its inherent or intrinsic values, which is conjugal love, love in marriage, the transmission of human life, of course, within marriage, and the sacramental sign of marriage. We'll talk about that later. Parents must practice conjugal chastity themselves. Chastity is for everybody. Parents who contracept cannot teach chastity to their children because they are not living in their own lives conjugal chastity. Fifthly, and continuing with this topic, what is required of parents is that they know that they are equipped by God to teach their children. We already talked about that this is embedded in and linked to the first commandment, this duty of parents. So parents can rest on the truth that they are already equipped by God to teach their children in faith, in morals, and in civic duties, and everything else that is important. Of course, as in any gift from God, they need a careful preparation on church teaching and on the failure of sex education. They must teach the commandments and virtues to their children. Parents must be aware that we have a fallen nature inclined to sin that so-called sex educators ignore. We must be realistic that even though baptism wiped away original sin, the inclination to sin, called concupiscence, is there in our hearts, and we have to battle with it. So we must be realistic that human sexuality, even though a beautiful gift from God, is also being attacked by evil desires that everyone has as a consequence of original sin and personal sins. Also, parents must be aware that their teaching must be tailored, accommodated to age, needs, individual development, and personality of each child. Each child is different, and it's a personal communication. The father with the son, the mother with the daughter. This is why group sex education doesn't work, either in school or in any other context. Parents should know that the church and organizations like Human Life International are here to help. Parents must lead by example. They must live moral lives. Parents must pray individually, together, and with their children. They must have a positive ambience in their family atmosphere of respect for chastity and morality and other values. Parents who are not careful what they watch on TV and other devices, they are not giving good example, and that's bad for the children. Question number 6, how should parents talk to their children about chastity? Continue, teach them about beauty and the dignity of a preborn baby so they tie fertility, procreation, to conjugal love from the very beginning. Teach them also that the body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, it's a temple of God, and should be respected as such. This is taught in the passage from St. Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 13 to 20. Speak honestly out of love and concern for your children, that sexual relations are only for marriage, that marriage has two central values, the unity of the couple, conjugal love, and procreation, and both must be respected. Also, that having multiple sex partners has detrimental effects on people, that giving yourself wholly to another is making yourself totally vulnerable to that other. And of course, that vulnerability is only admissible within the context of marriage, of a stable marriage. Don't let anybody use you for sex. They're not loving you, they're using you. Tell your children that all lies about if you love me, you should have sex with me, it's all a lie. Teaching chastity to your children takes time, patience, and effort. How should parents talk to their children about chastity? Continuing with this topic, chastity must be part of an overall program that teaches the virtues, the theological virtues. They're called such because faith, hope, and charity, which are the theological virtues, lead us directly into a relationship with God. The main moral virtues, also called the cardinal virtues of prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance, they lead us to good actions, which in turn lead us to God. And speaking about chastity, chastity is part of the virtue of temperance, which is the virtue, the good habit that regulates our use of sensible things like food and drink and human sexuality within marriage. Well, friends, this is what I wanted to share with you in this first video 4 about chastity education. There you have on your screen our contact info should you wish to communicate with us about this issue or this topic or any other topic that we address in Vida, Humana, Internacional, and Human Life International. I encourage you to visit our YouTube channel. We have tons of videos in both English and Spanish about all topics related to the defense of life and family, and certainly about the topic of chastity. And also, of course, our website, and of course the website of Human Life International, which is all in English and has wonderful articles, podcasts, audios, and what have you about all the issues pertaining to the defense of life and family. You can also communicate with me through my email address. You can see at the bottom of the page if you wish to know more about our training course, which is given in both English and Spanish. Thank you for your attention, and God bless you, and I invite you to watch the next video on this same topic about chastity education.